Et bonjour vous autres, c'est moi et on va faire une autre leçon de français louisianais. Hey guys, it's me and we're going to do another lesson in Louisiana French. And this lesson will talk about how to ask questions. And so before we get into all of these that are here on the screen, I will give you some easy ways to ask questions. And the easiest way to ask questions in Louisiana French is to simply rise the intonation at the end of a word. So, an example for that would be Tibri est ici, Tibri is here. I can turn that into a question, and it is a very common way to turn that into a question here in Louisiana would be to just say, Tibri est ici? Tibri's here? Tibri est ici? You just kind of ride. Now I'm kind of dramatizing. I'm dramatizing that in my voice. Whatever that English word is, I'm making it, really high to try and make it really obvious, but you get the idea. So that's the easiest way. If you're in a conversation, you might, say, tu viens de là-bas? You're from over there? But we'll go over these words because some of these things that we're going to kind of look at, you can't really ask in that way. Like, quoi c'est ça? What is that? You can't ask that unless you know the word quoi. Of course, you have a quoi region and you have a key region. So, la fouche, I want to say maybe terrebonne and avoyles. And there's probably a couple others. And I don't know. I might be getting all of them wrong. But there's places where you're going to hear qui c'est ça for sure. You'll hear qui for who. You'll also hear qui for what. But, you should know both. You should definitely know both because you're definitely going to run into speakers who use the word quoi. And so let's work on learning all of the words kind of as they're used, not in key regions. And then if you hear it from a key region, or if you want to learn French from a key region, then you are 100% obviously free to just speak that and speak your French however you speak your French. But quoi c'est ça? What is that? Another common question that you will ask in a conversation would be, quoi c'est ton nom? Quoi c'est ton nom? And something, obviously the response would be, mon nom c'est. And it is important. I was actually watching Cliff St. Laurent give a talk about Curivini, and he made a really good point. And that nom is not nom. Nom would be nom is actually a man. So when you say mon nom c'est, you're talking about your man. It is definitely nasalized in there. So quoi c'est ton nom? No. So that M is just a little bit of air coming through your nose there. And if you say quoi c'est ton nom, you're saying what is your man. So quoi c'est ton nom? What is your name? Quoi tu veux? Quoi tu veux? Quoi tu veux? What do you want? I ask that to my kids a lot. Quoi tu veux? Quoi tu veux? What do you want? And then, here's another one. It's kind of funny. I definitely think that if your kids were to learn this, they would probably use it a lot. Dis pas quoi j'ai fait. Don't say what I did. I would tell my siblings that all the time. Don't tell mom. Dis pas quoi j'ai fait. So I didn't say it in French because none of my siblings actually speak French, but that's neither here nor there. Dis pas quoi j'ai fait. Dis pas quoi j'ai fait. Don't say what I did. All right. Your next pronoun your next question word that we'll give you is going to be qui, which for a lot of Louisiana is going to mean who. So, qui c'est ta mom? Who's your mom? Or, also, qui c'est ta père? Who's your dad? Qui vous ça? That's an important word. That's an important phrase to learn. But sometimes my daughter will come and she'll bark some orders, and I need to know Did those orders come from you? Or did they come from your mom? Are you the one asking for this? Because if you're the one asking for this, then I have some level of agency in whether I'm going to say yes or not. But if your mom is the one asking for this, then I have no choice, and the answer is yes. So, qui veut ça? Who wants that? Qui veut ça? And then here is another one, and you're going to hear this little SQ sound. And you hear that in Louisiana French a lot. It's optional in some areas, but quisque is something that you will hear. Quisque. And that little sk is just another way of indicating that you're asking a question. So, qu'est-ce que vous ça? Qu'est-ce que vous ça? Who wants that? You will also hear, quoske. I've heard quoske before. But just that little sk sound is just something that's added on when appropriate, when it feels right to say, and it just reminds the person that you're speaking to that you're asking a question. Here's one that I'm sure I will be using very frequently soon because my little girl is going to be getting her driver's permit soon. Tibri, so y'all watch out. Elle va naviguer en voiture, elle va naviguer en char, elle va conduire en char, et moi, je suis un petit brin énervé. I'm just a little nervous. Le char est pour qui? Whose car is it? Le char est pour qui? Whose car is it? And that's another construction that you'll find pretty often in Louisiana French is pour. So, ça c'est pour moi, that's mine. Ici, ça c'est pour toi. Here, this is for you. Le char est pour qui? Whose car is it? Ça c'est pour moi, that's mine. Ça c'est pour toi, that's yours. Le char est pour qui? Whose car is it? So, when you're adding that little pour with a pronoun on the end of things, it's an indication of ownership. Pour moi, pour toi, pour qui, pour es, for me, for you, for who, for them. All right. Moving on. Got another couple of questions. Both of these mean why. Pourquoi is pretty standard, used all over the world. Just means why. For what? Pourquoi. And then it's kind of funny. This one has snuck into my family. We speak so much French that when we're speaking English, sometimes we will say, someone will tell us something and we'll be like, for why? And it's just because like that little French thing that's going on in our brain all the time just wants to peek out and pop its head out. Why do we say for why? I don't know, but we do. Pourquoi? Why? For why? Pourquoi? It's literally it's for what. So why we say for why, I don't know, but it didn't really come out until we started using French like a lot. Beaucoup de français. Pourquoi tu crois ça? Pourquoi tu crois ça? Pourquoi tu crois? Pourquoi tu crois ça? Why do you think that? For what do you think that? Pourquoi tu crois ça? Pourquoi tu restes ici? Why do you live here? Pourquoi tu restes ici? I don't ever intend to ask that question of my daughter. My son, maybe one day. My daughter, she can stay till she's 40, 50, 60 years old. All that's good. And that'll be about when she gets her first boyfriend and everything will be great. But my boy, I may be asking him one day, hey, pourquoi tu restes ici? Pourquoi tu restes ici? And actually, something else that's really common in Louisiana, I tend to say ici, but it's really, regardless of masculine or feminine, most Louisiana speakers, you'll find ici is a lot more common. That T that's on the end of ici, whether you're talking masculine or feminine, they will say ici all the time. So, pourquoi tu restes ici? And I actually intend to try and work that, just because I hear it so many other places, so many other speakers. I'm actually trying to get better at putting that T back on the end of EC, even if technically it wouldn't be feminine, so it wouldn't be heard. I'm just trying to put myself in as Louisiana French of a year as possible and just say ici all the time. So, pourquoi tu restes ici? Why do you live here? Pourquoi fais ça? Why do that? Pourquoi faire ça? Pourquoi faire ça? Why do that? Now you notice in this one, we are not fait, we're faire. Faire. Pourquoi faire ça? Because that faire is not conjugated there. That is the that's the infinitive form of faire, which is to do. So whenever we are fait, F-A-I-T, F-A-I-S, you're going to hear fait. But whenever it is in its infinitive form, to do, you're going to hear that R. So pourquoi faire ça? Why do that? And then je te demande pourquoi. I ask you why. Moi, je te demande pourquoi. I ask you why. Now, the more common way to say why in Louisiana is quoi faire. And you'll see it spelled like this sometimes. Depending on who's writing, you might also see, the quoi, Q-U-O-I-F-A-I-R-E. But I tend to write cofaire, C-O-F-A-I-R-E. And we use that one more than pourquoi. Most of us do. So, cofaire, it's like why? How come? So, cofaire tu crois ça? Why do you think that? This one, I tend to ask my little boys. I actually ask my little boys this a lot. Cofaire t'es comme ça? Why are you like that? Cofaire t'es comme ça? Like, mais là, cofaire t'es comme ça? He's took the salt and mixed it with the yogurt and painted it tout partout, tous les jouets. Tout partout, tous les jouets. He's painting all of the toys with salt and yogurt. Cofaire t'es comme ça? Why are you like that? And je connais pas quoi faire. I don't know why. And eux connaissent pas quoi faire aussi. They don't know why also. They don't know why. So, quoi faire? Why? What do? Quoi faire? Quoi faire tu vas? Quoi faire tu veux pas venir? Quoi faire tu veux pas venir? Why don't you want to come? Quoi faire tu veux pas venir? Why don't you want to come? All right. This one, let's see. No, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going all the way to les temps. So, quel is a question where you have more than one object, and you are trying to distinguish between the objects. So, quel est ton char? If you're looking at a group of cars in the parking lot, it's like asking which is your car. Quel est ton char? Or you could also say, quel char est pour toi? Which car is for you, or which car is yours? Very common. Quel char est pour toi? Quelle tasse est pour toi? Which cup is yours? I tend to ask that one a lot. Quelle tasse est pour toi? Which cup is for you? Because I want to know. Quelle tasse est pour moi? Because you might have put salt and yogurt in your cup, and I want to just drink my coffee. Quelle qualité des choses? What kind of thing? Quelle qualité? Quelle qualité? Quelle qualité des choses? What kind of thing? Qualité could mean quantity. Actually, it doesn't mean quantity. I'm sorry. Qualité doesn't mean quantity. Qualité means quality. It might be a good quality. It might be a bad quality. But we're asking, quelle qualité des choses? What kind of thing? Then we also have one that we're all pretty familiar with. Comment? How? It could also be like. So, comment t'appelles ça? What you call that, or how do you call that? Comment les affaires? How are things? How's business? Comment son nom? How's his name? And then another one that we'll get into is combien. Combien is how much. So, combien ça coûte? How much does that cost? Combien ça coûte? All right, here we go. Ayu or ayu is where. Very common. I will sometimes hear, especially folks that speak a more formal, educated French. It's still like a Louisiana French or a Cajun French, but they've got a little more education. You might hear, d'où viens-tu? Where are you from? So you'll hear the "u" sometimes. A lot of times, especially folks that are more kind of speaking like more of a country, rural, Louisiana French, you're going to hear "ayu" or "au." And I pretty much say "au" almost all the time. So, "tu es," where you live. You could also say, "Ayu ta maison," where's your house? "Ayu il est," where is he? "Ayu elle," where is she? Je connais Ayu Sacé. I know where that is. Je connais Ayu Sacé. All right. And then you have quand or et quand. So quand is when, et quand also when. Et quand ça c'est? When is that? Et quand c'est ta fête? When is your birthday? Or it could just be your celebration. Fête is just a celebration. A lot of times when we say we mean birthday, we say bon fête. It means happy birthday. We might also say bon fête if it is the fête des dents. And we might be talking about your fête des dents. Et quand c'est ta fête, when is your party? When is your celebration? When is your, almost like festival, fête to celebrate. Appelle-moi quand tu peux. Call me when you can. Appelle-moi quand tu peux. Call me when you can. Et quand tu peux. Appelle-moi et quand tu peux. And that kind of wraps it up for this lesson for today. So we've gone over lots of questions. Pourquoi, quoi faire, which would be why. Quoi and qui, which would be who. Quel, comment, and combien, which would be what, how, and how much. Ayu, au, which would be where. And et quand or quand, which would be when. All right. Hope that helps you guys out. We're going to do some flashcards. We're going to give you some other resources here pretty soon to help nail down all this vocabulary. And, à bientôt. Admets. Well, à prochaine. À la prochaine. À la prochaine. Till the next time.